Heading to work. A long trip to work. Got flash flood warnings today. I'm at work. Whew, the gas I save. Excuse me. This air conditioner's got to go this morning. It's not but about 75 degrees outside because it is raining and gonna rain some more. And it's just not cold. I'll be back.
She's the only one who does, so she's the truth. She implies that her meat is safe and that other meat is, and that is bad for the industry. Remember, you didn't ban the advertising, Mr. Davis, or is it Butthead? You banned the actual technique itself. And by the way, when did it become the goal of the Department of Agriculture? I always thought it was the same for the public. There could be many people out there diagnosed with Alzheimer's. In fact, ate bad beef. Look, if you say that outside this court, you're gonna get your ass sued. I mean, you think you're bigger than Oprah? But the answer what's the federal government trying to hide?
Well, it's not fair. Just because you're part of the government's afraid of you doesn't.
This is the fabric I use when anybody wants crimson. It's called chili pepper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We'll cut a couple more. I did one more. And then I've got my mat marked. And I start here. Well, actually, I put my fold down here on this mark way down here. You can see it or not. And I put my fold down there. Then I lay them out like this. And I'm cutting these strips at 14.5 inches. Everything has been pre-measured. And I mark my mat to make it easier to know exactly without having to measure it every time.
Your enemies think you're weak. When will you stupid Democrats ever learn? It's no wonder you never win.
Some show on TV, I think it's Boston Legal. I just have it on because if I don't have something on out here, I get lonely. I know that's weird, but it's just like having somebody out here that's talking to you or something. I don't know. I just know that before I got the TV out here, I was always trying to find an excuse to get out. So my husband hooked me up a TV. It's on a digital antenna. It's not on any kind of cable or satellite. It's on a digital antenna. And that sucker runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm just laying them all out here, trying to get as many as I can lined up. I think I'll stop right there. And then I cut on this mark. And then I cut right here. And then these ones on the fold will be exactly the same length as the ones not cut. But I do typically use the ones on the fold to go between the shirts, to sew the shirts together, because sometimes they could be just slightly off, enough off that'll throw everything off. So I use those on to sew my shirts together. Do the rest of these. I was talking to the lady yesterday at Hobby Lobby about videos and stuff, and sweet lady, all of them are very sweet. They all know me. They know my habits. They know my fabric preferences, and they really help me out a lot. And it pays to know someone. That sounds terrible. Pays to know someone, but it really helps out to know someone that knows, you know, what you do and what you like to buy a lot, what you frequently buy. But anyway, I was talking to the lady at Hobby Lobby last night, and we were talking about the girl who licked the ice cream. I left there, and I went to Walmart, and I had that on my mind. I didn't buy any food, but I had it on my mind thinking that if I had ever, and you may not like to hear this, but if I had ever heard of my child going to a store, my teenager, going to a store and taking ice cream out of the freezer and licking it and putting it back, they would have a complex against ice cream for the rest of their life. Because every time they thought about ice cream, they would think about the time their mother whooped their butts, drugged them back down to Walmart, and made them apologize, and then they could go back on their social media and they'd apologize on there too, because that is just unacceptable behavior. And I would have been embarrassed that my child would do something like that. That's why I never said, ever in my life said, my child would not do that, because your child will too. I always call those stupid parents when you say, my child wouldn't do something like that. Well, honey, they will when your back is turned. But my child did not have, to my knowledge, never licked ice cream. But if I ever found out that Miss Charlotte Wallace licked, I don't care if she is almost 21 years old. You're never too old to get a butt whooping. But if I ever found out she went to Walmart and licked the ice cream and put it back, oh Lord, the warpath her mother would be on, you'd be able to hear it across the state, because I would be so upset. But anyway, I'll be right back.
Answered my question.
What question?
I think you've been doing a splendid job.
Okay, I'm gonna lay my long ones aside in the floor, and I'm gonna go through this stack of shirts, and I will find some like this that have buttons, and I'm gonna put it on my machine, and I'm gonna sew this placket together. And this is where I like to use my ones on the fold to sew these together. And I always sew on the right side because that helps to keep me from putting a shirt on upside down. And I have done that before. I'm going to lay this shirt aside for a moment. And then just continue. Well, I probably need to sew all the plackets together before I start sewing those strips on.
That's very admirable, Mr. Asmussen, but I really don't think issuing ultimatums. It's not an ultimatum, it's a fact. If he walks, I walk. Alan Shore might too, maybe even Carl. Who knows? We could do a spin-off. Don't think we haven't been approached already. Now, it's not like you want the money anyway, the network doesn't. I apologize. I do retreat into, well, secure, which a lot, admittedly. It's partnership material. But might I say, in an arena where no prisoners
Alright, I'll do the rest of these and I'll be back.
Somebody who treats others with
Now I have got all of my shirt fronts sewn up, and I've got 2 more strips. These last 2, the only identifying marks on these shirts were on the sleeves. I guess it was where this guy worked. So I took them off the sleeves and attached them to the front of these shirts. After all, that is a memory and something that I would like to include in this lady's quilt. And now I will just randomly sew these together in rows of 5. Be 5 rows of 5. I chain stitch these together. Get them cut apart. And look, I like to lay them out like this. This one looks like it's got a cigarette burn in it. I'll have to try to see what I can do to fix that. I lay them together like this. And if there was if one of these were a t-shirt, I would make sure the t-shirt is down next to the feed dogs, but both of these are, but this shirt is a cotton shirt, so I'm going to do 10 of those. And I like to pull out 5 shirts because this will be an odd number in these rows. And I'll pull out 5 and then sew the rest of them together in pairs. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lay those 5 aside, only because there's five shirts in these rows, and I don't want to accidentally sew together too many sets of 2. So I just pull those 5 out and lay them aside and sew the rest of them up in pairs of 2. This is a knit shirt, so I'm going to go flip it over. I sew the rest of these together in 2s. I'll be back. Okay, now I've got all my pairs sewn together, and this is my last row. Got all of them done. Just sew the pairs together for my, you know, it all depends on how many shirts you have. This lady brought me 25 shirts for a queen, which is the recommended amount for a queen. 25 shirts. And I'm going to sew this last one on. And then find the end here that doesn't have a strip on it. Sew one on here. And that's our last row. 5 rows of 5. Now to cut the gray blocks to put these together. And we'll be ready to set this one together just like that. I'm not sure exactly what time it is now. It's probably about 10:30 in the morning. And I will have this one done by 11:45, 12, something like that. Alright, I'll be back. Okay, I cut my strips. I cut those at 5-inch width, which is what I like to keep most everything, is at 5 inches. That way I don't have a lot of different. I don't have 4 inches laying around here and 6 inches. I pretty much have a standard 5-inch squares and strips. That way if I have any left over from one quilt, I can just start right back in to another quilt. Okay, for a 25 shirt quilt, we need 36 of these, and I can get 8 in each strip, so I need 5 strips. And that's 4.
No office visits, no paying a fortune. Get started today.
Which, if my cutting table was cleaned off, I could have gotten that last strip. But I keep all projects that I'm working on in the middle of the cutting table because I have an ironing board at the other end of the cutting table.
Structured settlements. It's your money to use for a new car, housing, or to manage debt. If you have a structured settlement and need cash now, call Peachtree today. Call 866-273-2722.
Alright, now I'm going to lay them. It doesn't matter. Just somewhere that you know you can. I'm going to put it here. That way I'll cut at 30 inches, 25 inches, and 20 inches. And get my perfect 5-inch squares.
And you may be entitled to compensation. Hernia repair surgeries are one of the most common surgeries performed in the United States, with over 500,000 surgical procedures annually. Recent studies have found higher levels of hernias reopening when hernia mesh has been implanted. If you or a loved one had hernia mesh implanted specifically for hernia repair and have experienced serious complications, including infection, wound reopening, chronic pain, bowel obstruction, or you later required
I use my cutting board
you may be entitled to
until it cannot be
How do you
used
protect your rights and
anymore.
you deserve?
So,
Choose the right legal team that has experience,
I have got it
resources to
laid
get you the most
backwards.
compensation for your injuries. Call for a free case review.
Instead of it being 1 inch on this end, it's 36 inches. So I have to train myself. I'm going to take 4 of these off because I only need 36. I trained myself to count backwards so that I can use all sides of this cutting board. These things, well, I use the Sewology brand at Hobby Lobby, and these are $34.99. So it had, when they're on half price, I get them for $17.50. I have a new one waiting in the wings down here. I bought this new one the other day, and I got home and realized, and I like them because they're double-sided. You can flip them over, and the other side is light colored, but it's same exact matte. And I'll flip them over. I'll use the 36-inch end. I'll use the 1-inch end, and I get this mat will last me for several months. And even though it'd be nice to have the new one out, I don't want to waste what I have left on this one. All right, let's sew these together. Okay, back at the machine, I have got 30 strips, 36 squares, and I'm going to sew them together. I'm going to go through this whole stack because I know I've got exactly the right amount of both. And I'm going to sew a gray square onto each one of these crimson squares.
I was sorry to hear about John's mom.
And just like the shirts, when I get all of them done, I'm going to take 5 of the crimson squares, lay them aside, go back, do pairs, and then sew the pairs together until I get 4, and then I'll add the one that I laid aside, add it to the end to have 5 strips in a row with a gray square on each end, and I'll be back to show you how we're going to put this together.